It says that we're now streaming live.
Hi, everybody. It's Bernadette Wagner with Prime Time for Women's Mindful Monday. I hope that you're doing well on this beautiful day. Um, Today, we're going to be doing something a little different than we haven't done in the past. We've always celebrated women who enrich and empower and challenge boundaries. But today's episode is going to be celebrating the legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Chief Justice on the Supreme Court. We're so excited to have had her service for so many years and to know that she made a difference in the quality of life for women across our country. It's been said that she's changed the legacy of not just women today, but women to come in the future too. I'm being joined today by my daughter, Beth Wagner. Say hi, Bethy.
Hi.
So when I started thinking about wanting to do something to celebrate Ruth Bader Ginsburg's legacy, I was thinking that it would be really, really cool if I could talk to my mom and talk to my daughters and to see how over the course of 3 generations this incredible woman impacted our lives. But unfortunately, my mom is no longer here, but I'm so excited to have my daughter be a part of this. So, Bethy, I was going to ask you what you first thought when you heard that Justice Ginsburg passed.
I think I felt really sad. I think one of the things that I've been feeling a lot these days is just kind of sadness about the state of the world. And she was such a bright light for so many people and also a human being. And so I know like a lot of people's minds immediately jump to the strategy about how to fill her seat. And so I really was trying to just stay with the fact that the person had died and her family was mourning and like we were all mourning with them.
So. Yeah, I felt like that too. I did feel like not so much filling her seat, but I thought one way to really honor her legacy was to really celebrate our right and our responsibility to vote. That's something that she was such a strong advocate for, and I felt like that would be a real tribute to her if not just every woman, but every citizen exercised that vote.
Totally.
Beth, did you participate in any of the tributes to her that were held in the courthouse on Saturday night?
I didn't, but I saw them on social media.
Yeah, I was really excited to have the chance to do that here at our courthouse in Hagerstown. And people brought little signs, and it was actually very unifying. People wrote little tributes to her on the sidewalk, and it felt special.
That's nice.
Bethy, as a student athlete, both in high school and college, you certainly benefited from her work on Title IX. I was wondering, can you imagine what it would have been like for you if you couldn't have participated in athletics during that time in your life?
I mean, I think sports is such a visible example of gender parity, and we like don't have it professionally, so you can see what that's like, but you do have it in schools. And I know that sports for me has been super I loved it. I loved playing sports. I loved being physical, having a physical outlet. I think it is empowering to be encouraged to like get in the gym and lift weights and to be part of a team of other women or other girls participating. And I think it's just one of many kind of visible everyday examples. Like Ruth Bader Ginsburg pioneered so many examples of gender parity. Right. And some of the cases, she made the cases to prove the point that the principle is inequitable. Like one of the cases she tried on the basis of sex discrimination was about liquor laws that would sell to women who were younger, but like they would sell to 18-year-old women, but they wouldn't sell it to men until they were 21. And so she took on that case saying that it was discriminating against men on the basis of sex. And the reason that that's useful is because whenever you treat people differently on the basis of these kind of identifiable categories, it's discriminatory regardless, and it's bad for all of us.
Yeah, she was an advocate for equality, not just for women, right? I mean,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting that we just are celebrating the 19th Amendment, passing the 19th Amendment, and that gave women the right to vote. And that was in 1920. And here we are in 2020. We still haven't passed the ERA, which I think would have been, if we could have done that when Ruth Bader Ginsburg was still alive, that would have been incredible. But she worked, so we don't have all the same rights guaranteed in the Constitution at this point, but she worked individually to pass little teeny bits of that along the way. And I read this, I actually shared this earlier, but it says, women, if you have a credit card in your own name and your own credit rating, if you have leased an apartment or bought property in your own name, if you have consented to your own medical treatment, if you've played a sport in school, you can give thanks to Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I just think of all those little things and what it meant. Beth, how old were you when you got your first credit card?
22. 23.
Yeah. And my mom, who would be, I think, 87 now, didn't have a credit card in her own name until I think she was 40 some years of age. And, I can remember when I got married, it was this big discussion about, and this is in 1980, let's make sure I get something in my name. And so, I just remember that it was a big deal that I could do that.
Totally.
So, yeah, pretty
And
amazing.
it's so instructive. I feel that there is a tendency, and I understand it and sometimes wish that it were true, to just jump over all of the recent history and say, great, things are equal, everything's good now. But like Ruth Bader Ginsburg was the second ever woman on the Supreme Court. Segregation was legal in the lifetime of many people who are alive today. We have a long and deep past, and we didn't arrive to where we are, which is not the end. This is a waypoint.
Still a journey.
We didn't just arrive here. Like, it took the work of an enormous amount of individuals, both notable like RGB and then lost to history. But there is joy in that. Just because there's still work to be done, it doesn't mean that there wasn't joy in the past. But it's so important to celebrate the struggle and to acknowledge that it isn't easy, and it wasn't that long ago.
Right.
The roots of these things were the law of the day. So
one of the things, one of my favorite Ruth Bader Ginsburg quotes is when she was asked about women on the court. She says, when I'm sometimes asked, when will there be enough women on the Supreme Court? My answer is, when there are 9. People are shocked, she says, but there have been 9 men and nobody ever raised a question about that. So, her message is that it shouldn't be any more unusual to have 9 women than 9 men. But I do think that it's really, it's best if we have a diversity of judges. And I think that she would probably say that too, because she was so in favor of equality. The other thing I think she said about her male colleagues, she said when they were discussing a case that involved a 13-year-old girl, and that girl had, the male colleagues they appeared indifferent to the fact that the school did a strip search, the school administrators did a strip search of the girl at school. And she says, there's no way they can understand. They have never been a 13-year-old girl. And so this idea that if we all come forward from different backgrounds, we have a greater view into the lives and experiences. And that's why she feels diversity so important.
Totally. And that viewpoint is rooted in a respect for human beings' actual experiences. I think the idea that we can think really hard about what the solution is and come up with the right answer in a vacuum is just not accurate. And especially as white people, that is something that we are taught we can do. Like, we can understand anything. And of course, like, you know, we've been saying women, but women is a stand-in for any historically discriminated against group of people. And as RGB said, like you said, she fought for equality. But the idea that, you know, you truly absolutely need other people and you need to listen to their perspectives and you need to have them at the table is the only way that we can actually solve these problems, is something that she kind of lived out in her life, and is something that is becoming increasingly clear. Like, why are traffic stops scary for people who aren't white? We can't comprehend that. That would never have even occurred to us if we weren't listening. You know what I mean? And
Right.
so I totally agree with that point.
So one of the things she says um, on leadership, she says, fight for things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join the fight with you.
Mhm.
And Bethy, I think in your advocacy work that you've done on fair housing and on other areas, is that something that you find true? Is that, are you more likely to follow a leader that you can emulate, that brings other people along, or are you more likely to follow somebody who's a firebrand?
You know, I really think it takes all types.
Mm-hmm.
I think it takes all types. It's a big world, and like, no one person is able to solve it on their own. Sometimes what you need is someone who is militant, uncompromising, able to shoulder that burden for the people around them. Sometimes what you need, if what you're trying to do is kind of swell your ranks,
Mm-hmm.
you need someone who can speak to people with different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But I yeah, so I think that's kind of my experience. My personal experiences, just to spend a lot of time listening. And I would say to anyone, you know, who's kind of any white person, especially, that's my experience, who's kind of dipping their toes in the water of activism, um, we have largely been insulated from the problems that people are trying to solve right now. And so listening and understanding and following the lead of the people who have been in this work, who have been developing solutions.
Who have been the victim of some of this discrimination,
Absolutely.
right?
Because they understand it better than I ever could. And so I feel like my role and my personal role, and a good place to start for anyone, is to listen and understand, and then lend your energy in the support of their vision. So like in my work, I support a group of tenant leaders, and they set the strategy, they set the vision, and I help execute. I try and take the work out of it for them. And so I want to follow them, and I learn from them every day. You know, that's the kind of education that I'm like so lucky to have in my life.
So we're running out of time, but one of the things that Ruth Bader Ginsburg is famous for is her ability to rebound from disappointments and rejection, her sense of resiliency. I wanted to share this other quote from her and then ask you about how you pick yourself up after a disappointment. She says, "You think about what you would have done. Suppose I had gotten a job as a permanent associate. Oh, this is, oh, I know. This quote is asking her about when she applied for a position in a law firm and she didn't get it. And she's saying, this is how I turned that on its head. She said, you think about what would have happened. Suppose I had gotten that job as a permanent associate. Probably I would have climbed up the corporate ladder, and today I would be a retired partner. So often in life, things that you regarded as an impediment turned out to be great good fortune," she says. And you know, had she done that, she probably never would have been appointed. She wouldn't have become a judge and moved up into a position on the Supreme Court. Bethy, in your life, how do you and what would you say to other women about dealing with life's disappointments and maybe those struggles that we have to keep picking ourselves up?
I mean, I would say that her perspective is something to aspire to. You know, disappointments suck. They're hard, you know, and when you doubt yourself, that's a terrible feeling. It's hard to continue to move forward. And I think that what she speaks to is relevant at a macro level as well. it's about the power of hope. And, cynicism says it's already over. There's no point. Like, I didn't deserve that. Oh, well. And then that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And sometimes, especially in times like these, it's very hard to carry on hoping. But without hope, then you don't have a direction to move in. And so that's what I try and I try and tell myself. And I also tell myself that lots of people, everybody who's ever come before us had enormous challenges in their lives. Many people had much more severe challenges than I will ever face. I'm incredibly privileged.
And they could become your inspiration too.
Right, exactly. And they've carried on, and they've kind of made these impossible things happen. One quote that I'll share, which speaks to this a little bit. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was well known for her dissents, which is obviously when she, maybe not obvious, she loses the opinion. The court goes a different direction, but then she'll write an explanation of why she didn't agree. And she said about that, dissents speak to a future age. It's not simply to say that my colleagues are wrong and I wouldn't do it this way. But the greatest dissents do become court opinions, and gradually over time, their views become the dominant view. So that's the dissenters' hope that they are writing not for today, but for tomorrow. And, I think that speaks exactly to this.
Yeah, I actually read that quote as well. And what I liked about it is it tempers her disappointment in not getting her way, but it moves us all forward in a more hopeful course. So Bethy, thank you so much for joining us on Mindful Monday, Prime Time for Women's weekly celebration of women. I wanted to let our viewers know that you have the opportunity to submit your favorite Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote. And if you do that, we will select one person from that to win a free ticket to the LeaderCast Live event, which will be held at HCC. It's a virtual event on October 30th. And women from around the nation and around the world will be speaking. So if you want to get one of those tickets, otherwise they're $70. So put your comments below, share your favorite Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote, and we'll celebrate her together. We know we're healthier, happier, and stronger when we're together. Beth, thanks for joining us, and I love you, and I'll talk to you later.
You too, Mom.
Bye.